An INFP listens while someone slowly opens up. The room is quiet, but not empty. Someone speaks, slowly, carefully choosing words that don't quite fit yet. You don't interrupt. You notice the pauses, the almost words. The moments where something real almost surfaces, then retreats. You stay there, not fixing, not guiding, just present, and something shifts. Not visibly, but enough. Their voice changes. It softens, then deepens. They begin saying things they didn't plan to say. Not because you solved anything, but because nothing in the space is forcing them to hide. As an INFP, you don't listen for answers. You listen for what feels true, even when it's incomplete, even when it doesn't make sense yet. You stay with it longer than most people would. And people feel that. Not immediately, but in the way they keep going, in the way they don't rush to conclude. You remain where things are still forming. You notice when something doesn't align. A simple sentence, carrying more than it admits. "I'm fine," said too quickly, too cleanly. You don't challenge it. You don't expose it. But you register it, quietly. And from that moment on, you're not just hearing words, you're listening for what didn't get said. As an INFP, pieces begin to connect without effort. A hesitation from earlier, a detail they almost skipped, a pattern in how they describe things, without realizing it. You don't treat these as separate moments. They start forming a subtle continuity, not a fixed meaning, but a growing sense of direction, something underneath the story, slowly revealing itself. You don't force clarity. You let it emerge. You stay close to what feels real and open to what could be. You hold both at the same time. And somewhere between them, meaning begins to take shape, not as a conclusion, as recognition. There are echoes in what you hear, not exact memories, but familiar emotional textures, a tone you've encountered before, a feeling that carries something known. You don't compare directly, but something in you recognizes the pattern, and it deepens how you listen, without interrupting the moment. As an INFP, you move through a quiet sequence. You feel what is real. You follow what might be underneath. You recognize what has felt similar before. And still, you don't rush to decide. Understanding comes slowly, and you let it. But sometimes, something interrupts that flow, a sudden need to make it clear, to define it, to bring it somewhere solid and usable. The pace changes, becomes sharper, less patient, almost unfamiliar to you. Part of you wants to stay with the depth, to keep exploring what isn't finished yet. Another part wants it to resolve, to become simple, organized, handled. Both feel necessary, and they don't settle easily. You can read others with surprising clarity. Their patterns feel visible, their contradictions understandable. But when it's your own experience, everything expands. Too many meanings appear at once. Nothing stays still long enough to hold. You didn't notice when it started. The shift, when clarity stopped being stable. What once felt obvious now moves. Changes shape depending on how you look at it. And you keep looking, trying to stay honest with what feels real. One interpretation feels right, then another arrives. Equally convincing, you don't discard either. You hold both. Longer than most would tolerate. You allow the experience to remain open, even when it would be easier to close it. This is why people feel understood around you. As an INFP, you don't rush their process. You don't reduce what they're feeling. You stay with it long enough for something more honest to appear. Not answers, but something closer to truth. But staying open has a cost. You keep feeling, you keep exploring, you keep revisiting, and nothing fully settles. Not yet. Not completely. Over time, something begins to change. Structure feels less intrusive. Decisions feel less like endings. You start moving forward, without abandoning depth. You act, but you still feel. And still, when someone sits in front of you and begins to speak carefully, you return to that same place. As an INFP, quiet, attentive, unrushed, and they remember it. Not the words, not the outcome, just the feeling that nothing inside them had to be simplified to be allowed to exist.